Outputting our coverage. It's what we do.
That's all we do every Thursday
At 5:30.
College football. College football.
Mountain West Conference.
Doesn't matter.
SEC
Is all that matters.
Nick Saban
Is crazy.
Yeah.
And that's all. Let's start the show.
Outputting.
Welcome in, as always, to another outstanding edition of Outputting Our Coverage. We're coming to you live from Decatur, Alabama, as always, ready to talk all things college football. But before we get into that, a very exciting announcement for Outputting Our Coverage Incorporated.
LLC.
Yes, we have now started a weblog, more informally known as a blog.
Right.
It can be found at
Outputting our coverage, all one word, .wordpress.com.
Yes, and just to make sure that you all know, this is outputting, as in the Ryder Cup failure, not outpunting, as in
What most people think of.
putting your foot on the ball. So just
Right.
just so you know that. But I just gotta say, I put a post up there, pretty mediocre. David follows right behind me, bringing the heat, bringing the substance. You really need to go check this out.
Oh, yeah, it's some good stuff. We've already got some comments from some faithful listeners. They found us by just paying attention to our Twitter and Facebook updates, because all of the blogs that we post on the WordPress will automatically be updated on Twitter and Facebook. Remember, you can find us on Facebook at Outputting Our Coverage, and you can find us on Twitter at Output Our Cover.
Yes, so we're all about listening to what you, our faithful listeners, want from us. And while we didn't actually get any real feedback from you because we haven't had any actual communication with you, we just knew in our minds that listening to us once a week was not enough.
It's an amazing thing about radio waves. You can just kind of feel what the others think.
We knew you wanted more, so we started the blog. And the great thing about radio is that you don't have to see what we look like. But the great thing about a blog is you don't have to see what we look like or what we sound like.
It's pretty impressive. I'm impressed.
So it's really an ideal avenue. We're still going to do the radio show just because it's fun for us to ramble, as we've done here for the past 2.5 minutes about our weblog. But as you can tell, we're pretty excited about it. So you should go check that out.
We'll be updating it weekly. We won't be there won't be any regularly scheduled blogs, but just kind of anytime.
Yeah,
we
you never know.
We get a thought.
You never know when something might come up on there. That's what makes it so dangerous and so exciting at the same time.
So you never need to be away from your smartphones.
Yes, ever. So, all right, with that, we'll move into what we always do here at the beginning of the show. Good call and bad call.
Good call.
Right, so
Yeah.
good call, and then we don't have bad calls.
Yes, I had the volume slider turned down on that. We'll try that one again later. But let's go ahead with the good calls first.
I've got to say that my good call was probably Nebraska over Wisconsin. It was a really tight game, really anybody's ball game. Wisconsin got out to a lead early, but Nebraska hung in there and looked pretty good at the end.
All right, my good call for this week. Thought about going to West Virginia, but I'm a little leery of saying it's a good call when you win 70-63. That's I don't know if you can even call that a real victory, but I will go with Texas A&M. I had a brief inkling of wanting to pick Arkansas against them last week. So glad I didn't do that because of the massive train wreck that Arkansas has become.
Well, now Arkansas kept it close for a while.
Yeah, for what, like 3 minutes?
A little while.
Yeah, I didn't actually watch much of that game.
It was into the third quarter. It was still a game, and then Texas A&M blew up.
Now let me say this: Johnny Manziel, Texas A&M quarterback, freshman coming in. That kid looks good.
I have been
Real
extremely impressed with that guy. I did not expect he'd be this poised and be able to make these kind of big plays as a freshman.
Honestly, when you look at a guy like that, it just makes you that much more angry as an Auburn fan about what Kyle Frazier's doing. Because, this kid, he's a true freshman coming in, just lighting it up. Maybe you can say part of that's the system he's in, but he's playing against SEC defenses. He's doing a pretty good job. Very frustrating.
It is.
So.
But you have to be able to throw the ball in today's game.
Yes. So, all right, let's do this now.
Bad call.
See, I had it working. We're ready. We're ready for some bad calls. David, how about I start?
Okay.
We'll let you finish up with the big bad call, whatever that may be. For me, it's got to be Michigan State. I've been on this bandwagon since the beginning of the season, talking up their defense, It's almost been a love affair of sorts, but it's ending today. I've had enough. They couldn't stop Notre Dame. They haven't been able to do much of anything. Well, it's very frustrating.
The Ohio State game really wasn't on the defense. They only let up 17 points, but their offense is just anemic.
Yeah. I mean, really, that's probably the bigger issue. Le'Veon Bell, when he has a chance to run, does a good job, but they're so one-dimensional right now. Their quarterback, Andrew Maxwell, can't do anything.
No.
They're stacking 8 or 9 guys in the box against Le'Veon Bell. You're not going to be able to do much against that.
And can you imagine a Michigan State team who's begging for Cousins to come back?
Oh, man.
That's just weird.
Who would have thunk it, I guess. But Michigan State, no longer my Big Ten favorite. I don't know who is at this point. Ohio State, I guess you could say they would be, but they're ineligible. I think the only eligible team left that still may have something in the tank is Purdue. I don't know.
That's just weird.
Speaking facetiously, I don't. Maybe that's true. I don't know.
I don't know who's going to get it. Penn State can't win it.
Yeah, everyone's up. Wisconsin, they're done. It's not happening for them. So
I don't know who wins Big Ten.
Big Ten.
Doesn't matter who wins the Big Ten.
Yeah. Big Ten, just a giant fire right now. Just terrible.
Maybe Michigan by default.
Yeah.
Well, my bad call, I'm going to stay with the state schools, was NC State. It's the second time this year I've kind of gone out on a limb and tried to pick them for the upset. And they came close-ish, but, NC State finding a way to lose at the end against Miami. Yeah. That's my bad call.
Don't ever pick NC State. I know I've done it before.
I know.
Just don't do it.
Don't go with the Wolfpack.
Yeah, don't go with them. You don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back on the other side of this break, talking about Alabama's victory this past week, all kinds of other SEC action coming up this week. Great SEC games. We'll talk about those right here on the other side of Outputting Our Coverage.
It's time for SEC Preview. SEC, Big 10, Big 12, can't count. SEC, college football robber barons. SEC, yeah, they're big, they're fast, they're strong. And Missouri and Texas A&M as well. Yeah, SEC Preview. Here we go.
All right, we are back here on Outputting Our Coverage. Time to talk all of your favorite SEC action. Let's start with Alabama Ole Miss. Of course, Auburn with the week off last week. Alabama, we thought it would be kind of a week off for them. Ole Miss has not been that great of a team, gave up a lot of points to Texas, but this one was closer than I expected.
It was. I thought it'd be close. I said within about 2-3 touchdowns. It was right around there. Ole Miss, with their running game, is really just going to make a shorter game. So it's going to be tougher for Alabama to blow them out. But 21 points in the second quarter, Alabama didn't really have to do a whole lot after that.
Yeah, Ole Miss, they had some success at times running the ball. They spread it out, used some different guys. They definitely tried to limit Alabama's running game as much as possible, but A.J. McCarron did not have to do a lot of difficult throws to get around it. There was a lot of stuff out in the flats, swing passes, those kinds of things. That was enough to beat them, but like I said, I honestly expected Alabama to win by a little bit larger margin in this game. I don't know if it's tough to focus for Ole Miss. I mean, obviously they still got it done, but do you see anything in this game as far as Ole Miss laying a blueprint for another team to use against Alabama? Or
no, I don't think there was anything there other than just don't come in with those incredibly ugly uniforms. The all gray look.
Yeah.
Leave that to baseball. That to baseball. That's
they've pulled out those grays a couple times, and I think it's always when they've played the number one team. They did it against Auburn in 2010.
Right.
That was at home.
They did it against LSU a year or two ago.
They're not working.
No.
Yeah, I guess got to stick with what works. So Ole Miss maybe showed some people that they're a little bit better than people thought. I don't know.
Yeah, their defense is going to be their Achilles heel as we go through the season. Just not really bringing it. They can't stop what is turning out to be a pretty potent offense with a couple different weapons in Alabama. But their running attack was great coming in, one of the leading rushing teams in the SEC, and held to 89 yards rushing the ball. So you're going to have to do better than that if you're going to win in the SEC.
Now, Alabama will be dealing with some possibly key injuries. D. Hart on a punt return saw his knee go out, immediately knew that was some kind of ACL type issue. He's out for the season. I believe a wide receiver also was injured this week.
Yeah, and he's also out for the season.
So how much do you see those injuries being a factor as the season rolls on here?
As far as the running back is concerned, D. Hart wasn't getting a whole lot of playing time. They have a stable of running backs. They're not going to miss him there. a little bit weaker on the wide receiver depth. White's going to hurt. He was a pretty good playmaker. They've still got Norwood, they've got Bell, so they'll be okay. But they need 3 or 4 attacks because they use the wide receivers more this year than they have in the past, and they're going to need to stockpile in that department.
So Alabama with the week off this week, and then a trip to Columbia to play Missouri for the first time. We'll obviously give a full preview of that game next week, but David, just quick thoughts on that one right now. You think they can make a game of it?
I think Missouri will test them early, especially with that quicker pace. Alabama's been known that if you get to the line quick, as many play calls as they like to call in on defense and audibles and that kind of stuff, it's going to be difficult for Alabama to do that against Missouri, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, always tough to play on the road in the SEC. Still not sure whether we really want to classify Missouri as an SEC road game yet. Maybe we'll see.
I'm fine with not.
Yes, we'll see how that one goes. Auburn with the week off last week, but Arkansas coming into town this week, reeling from their blowout losses to Texas A&M and Alabama. Tyler Wilson once again putting up big numbers in a loss last week, but there's not a whole lot else going on. And to me, the craziest thing about this Arkansas team so far has been the complete absence of any type of running game.
Yes, it's with Niles Davis coming in, you thought they'd be back, maybe getting 100 yards a game, might even have a 1,000-yard rusher at the end of the year, but he has looked pretty poor, and you got to wonder, is it because of the offensive line?
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. Niles Davis, talking about him before the start of the season, as possibly being one of the best running backs in the SEC, and I still think he has that kind of talent. Not sure how much his injury may have affected his ability or mental confidence, but the real problem for Arkansas, both in the running game and the passing game, has got to be their patchwork offensive line. They have basically 2 walk-ons starting on one side of their line. You can't run very well with that. Tyler Wilson's taken a lot of big hits against some not-so-great opponents, and you got to think that that's going to be Auburn's strategy in this game. Try to get pressure on him early, get him rattled, and I actually think they got a pretty good chance to do that.
They do, and Auburn's defense has always been known for getting their hits. Now, whether it's during the play or after, they will get their hits in, and they can rattle some players.
Yeah, so we'll see how that one goes. This is going to be another test for that much maligned Auburn secondary that we've discussed here. Maybe some new faces playing for Auburn this week, though. We saw Joshua Halsey playing against LSU, made a pretty good play on a deep ball. Robinson Therese, a guy who had switched to running back but played some in the secondary last week. He was kind of used more as a defender against the run, but I'll be interested to see if he plays this week. I think you got to do something different.
I think so, and the big key for me is, did Auburn find a passing game in their week off? They've got, if something's going to change, they've got to start passing the ball and figuring out a way to be efficient.
Yeah, and if ever the time for Auburn to find its legs offensively, it's got to be this week. Arkansas's defense has just been terrible. There's no other word for it.
No.
And if Auburn can't move the ball against them, if Kyle Frazier can't get things going against them, there's some serious problems with Auburn. I mean, something's got to give.
If he can't do it this week, Frazier has got to be on the bench next week.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, if he doesn't get it done, you got to look at another option. I don't know if it's Jonathan Wallace or Clint Mosley. To me, Clint Mosley has been a strange situation. We haven't seen or heard anything from him this year, which makes me wonder...
Is his arm dead?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But we might find out. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
The biggest story coming out of this game, I think, this week has been the Arkansas's coach. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
His debt now has gone up to $45 million.
Which, does that mean, like, in the past 3 weeks he spent $20 million?
I don't think that
what that means?
In the last report, there was a bank that knew that that he owed them money, and it just was shown as unknown amount. And now they come out and say, well, we still don't really know the exact figure, but it's more like $15 million.
Yeah, that's a lot for unknown. That's a lot. That's a pretty big difference
and
there.
All in real estate. What was this guy doing?
I don't know. He's like one of those guys. I did not watch the ESPN 30 for 30 special Broke the other night, but I've heard it was pretty good. John L. Smith, the leading candidate for Broke 2, I think.
Brokeback Mountain, but the Broke 2.
Yes, so getting back to the game, Couple of key injuries for Arkansas. Chris Gregg, their tight end and leading receiver thus far, is going to be out for this game. That's another loss to that offense, making